So while you're in your manage project, what you can do is you can provide comments as well. For example, I can do a comment for area here and say um, clean up traces, for example. And then another person logs in, he can just click on this and go directly to that particular area. So you can choose to do this for either your schematic, your PCB, whatever documents at all in within Altium Designer if your project is a managed project. What you can then do is if you don't want it to keep masking, just hit the clear button or just do a Shift C to clear the comment masking, right? And to do it for your schematic, it's the same thing. Just do a place comment for area or comment for point, and then what you can do is just draw the area here and just say um, change this component, right? So that the other person would know to change this component when he click on this. If you another person logs in and what you want to do is you want to back and forth do a reply to the thread and something similar to that, you can just type it in and then do a reply. Or once you have made the necessary changes and then you want to resolve it, simply just click on resolve here. If you want to see all the comments throughout the entire project, not just for this particular schematic, you can choose to display um, and click on display settings and uncheck on check on show for the whole project, and you could see both one for the PCB document, other for the schematic document. And say if I were to resolve both of them, and now you will not be able to see the comments. If you want to show the closed comments, the ones that has been resolved, simply click on display settings and check on show closed. That way you'll be able to see even the the resolved comments as well. If you accidentally closed it, same thing like any other panels, just use any of the panel buttons on the bottom right corner and then just click on system and then go to comments in this case, right? So now that I have created all my necessary documents and whatnot, what I want to do is to basically release this this document here or this project along with my board, my design snapshot, as well as fabrication files and whatnot to my vault, right? So I want to perform a release of the entire project. So first of all, I would want to configure my vault to make sure that it includes some output jobs, right? So I'm just going to delete this. For now, I want it to be empty. So as of right now, I do not have any output jobs here. What I want to do is I want to make use of something that I already have in my folder in my C drive or in my hard drive and then release that output job document to my vault, right? So I'm just going to open it first of all. I'm going to just open up the fabrication out job. In here I have my Gerber files, my NC drill, right? All pointing to a correct container. It also has some PCB prints as well that's pointed to a PDF container. So this is good. What I want to do is I want to link it to my vault, right? So similar like how you do it for your schematic template as well as for your um, project template. Just do a file link document to vault and then choose a placeholder in here, right? I'm just going to add an item and create an output job. I'm just going to call this as fabrication to be a little bit more meaningful. And then uncheck on open for editing because you don't want to edit it right now. You just want to point to it. Okay, because you have an existing out job already, which you want to release to that particular placeholder. So once that is done, same thing like before, save and then do a file release document to vault, and then you can then put in a release comment, for example, first release of out job, and then just click on yes. Now you have one out job document. If you go into your Vault Explorer, you'll be able to see the out job document in here, right? And if you go into its preview, you'll see that it will come with three different containers, one fabrication, one reports, as well as a PDF container, right? And you have within each container, you have several outputs in here, right? Um, what you might want to do is you might also want to have like a for your source documents or your design snapshot because there are three different datas that Altium will generate when you release, right? One is just the data for your design snapshot, so basically a copy of every project document along with the project, as well as the fabrication data, which includes the output jobs such as the fabrication output in this case, and the last one, which is the assembly data, which includes things like the pick and place or maybe you have a um, test point report, and so on and so forth, right? So what I want to do now is to also create another out job just for validation, right? So I can go into Vault Explorer, and then what I want to do is just do a right click on the fly on my output jobs directory and create a new out job. And in this case, I'm just going to call it as validation and documentation, for example. And this time I'm going to open for editing because I want to do it on the fly. And for this, I would want to generate a schematic print, right, for my all schematic documents as well as my PCB print and my validation output, which includes my electrical rule check first for my schematics as well as my design rule check for my PCB document. Once that is all done, I'll make sure that I have the rule checks to my folder and my schematic prints to the PDF. So once that is done, save and release this to my vault. Okay, I'm not going to bother putting comments and so on and so forth because this is kind of just a proof of concept. So now that that is done, what I can do is I can now go ahead and release this project. But before that, how do I make sure that it uses that output job? If you don't use configurations, um, the simplest of all is just to do a right click on the project, go to project options, and go to manage output jobs and add, right, the fabrication as well as the validation, right? So it's a good idea for you to make sure that this project options is configured in your project template so that you'll always use this particular output job whenever you create a project out of that project template. However, there are also things like configurations within Vault where if you log in as specific users or roles, you can specify that this set of users or roles must use this set of schematic templates only, or this set of output job templates only, or layer stacks and so on and so forth. But that is all configurations, um, and you can find out more regarding this about in the Altium Vault page on altium.com. Okay, so once that is done, what I can do is I can simply just do a right click on my project and click on Project Releaser. And you'll see that right away within the settings folder, it will add the two output job files in here, right? And it'll also automatically know that to include the fabrication data. And if you go into options here, you're going to see that fabrication, the fabrication out job file is going to be included inside fabrication data. And for source data, what you can do is you can say, I want you to also include the validation and documentation out job file. Okay, basically you're going to run the out job file when you release this project into the source data. Okay, and then you're going to run fabrication when you release this to the fabrication data placeholder. Once you do that, just click on OK, right? And then just simply just click on prepare. It's going to tell you to do a save and commit for one last time. So I can just say last commit prior first release of project. Okay. So as you can see, it's going to run and it's going to stop if you get an error during one of the validation checks. So as you can see, the footprint comparison validation has failed, and the main reason is because if you take a look at X question mark here, there's the X question mark symbol, but there's no representation in the PCB document, right? So what we can do is we can basically just annotate our schematics to give them all unique IDs, and then just do a design update PCB, which will bring in the X1 and X1 into the component class, right? So I'm just going to dump our footprint in there, right? View it in 3D to see the 3D body, the nice little shape there. And then I'm going to go back into my release, right? And then just do a cancel and then re-release this particular project once again. Okay. And I'm just going to say added um, X1 crystal into PCB document. Okay. So that way you can make sure that before you release any of these projects, Altium will actually check that you make sure that you run every single report that you have in your outputs, whether it's in fabrication or validation. to ensure that there are no rule checks that are not that are sorry. This will avoid any violations of the design rule check or electrical rule check, and will ensure that all release boards will have correct specifications that meet your requirements, right? So once all of that has been viewed, has been generated, you can see that a lot of all of them has passed, right? So the electrical rule check, the design rule check have passed, as well as the footprint comparison report. Once that is done, you can then release this, and this will release both the source data as well as the fabrication data, including the outputs that are configured for each of them, into the vault. Okay, so I'm just going to say first release of project. Okay, so now you can see that you have two data reports, right? One which shows your source, right, which is essentially all your project documents, the design snapshot of each and every one of them, as well as your ERC and your DRC, because that's what we configured in our outputs. And for our fabrication, you'll see that the list is a little bit more extensive, right? It includes your ASCII files, it includes your Gerber files, it includes your IPC, your NC drill, as well as your reports, and so on and so forth. Right, so now if you hit close and then go back into your Vault Explorer, you should see that within your projects, right, your PCB project 3, you'll see the the stream, right, which shows when you did your last commit, who did it, the timestamp, and so on and so forth. Your releases, when did you actually do the release, who did it, and so on, and as well as your working files, which are essentially what you're currently working on, right, how many you have, as well as the last log message, right. If you go into your structure, you see that you have a data for your project, which essentially is your managed project, right? The item placeholder in this particular vault here, as well as your source, data, and your fabrication data. If you click on your source data, you can see that if you go into its preview, it contains your DRC or ERC as well as the design snapshot for every single document here. If you want to download it, you can simply just do a right click and view, or you can just download all documents into a single zip file. Right, the same thing can be done for um, your fabrication view as well. So if you click on fabrication here, you'll get to see a preview of every single document that has been generated, your fabrication, so on and so forth. Right, if you just click on any of them, you can get a preview. Right, fabrication only includes the PCB print, that's why. Let's just go back to our source view. We should see the validation and documentation, which is a little bit nicer. Right, it comes with a schematic as well as the PCB, and yeah. What you can also do is you can also get into the children and where use as well, right? So if you go into children, you can see the components as well as the items that this project consists of, right? So it consists of the crystal as well as the header. If you do a right click and you include designator as one of the columns, you can see the designator of the crystal as well as the designator of the header as well, right? What you can do is if the component exists in the vault, you can simply just do a double click and it will jump to that particular component as well. And for this component, the crystal component, you can do the same thing. You can do a where used, and you will see that this component here is used by the managed project, PCB project, and the source documents, right? The source data of PCB project 3, as well as the fabrication data of PCB project 3. Right, so that's how you would release a project to your vault, and I hope this video shows you that.